Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today's video is going to be another Mystery Monday, and I just want to take a second to apologize about the fact that I think I've missed 2 Mystery Mondays now, but I'll explain a little bit more on why that is at the end of this video, because right now I kind of just want to get into this case. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Elizabeth Ann Campbell was born on May 31st, 1967 to her two parents, Sam Soon and Tom Campbell. Both of her parents described her as being an extremely gentle and kind little girl, and she carried these traits on with her into adulthood. At the time of her disappearance, Elizabeth was attending school at Texas Central College, which was 25 miles away from her home in Lampasas, Texas, where she lived with both of her parents. But in the upcoming fall, she was planning on switching schools to attend a university where she could study marine biology. April 25th, 1988 started just like any other day for Elizabeth. She went to school where she attended all of her classes, and then she went to the 7-Eleven on Rancier Avenue in Keeling, Texas, where she worked as a clerk. She finished her shift, and then her boyfriend, Ricky Ray, came to pick her up at about 7:30. Once Ricky had come to pick up Elizabeth, the couple had headed back to his house for a study group, so I believe there was a few more people there than just the two of them. But after the couple arrived, they got into quite a heated argument, and Elizabeth ended up packing up all of her things and leaving Ricky's house at around 9:30 p.m. Because after leaving Ricky's house, Elizabeth did not have a car as he had picked her up from work, so she decided to hitchhike home. And that is when she was picked up by another college student who she didn't really know, but she recognized, I guess, just from walking down the hallways and whatnot. And this person was heading back to his house, so he offered to drop Elizabeth off at a 7-Eleven that was near his home, but it was not the same as the one that Elizabeth had worked at earlier that day. When he dropped Elizabeth off at the 7-Eleven, she went inside and asked the clerk if she could use the phone inside to make phone calls to find somebody to come and pick her up. And the first person that she had called was Ricky. But unfortunately, after this phone call started to pick up, the two began to argue again. But this time it was about the fact that Elizabeth hadn't even told Ricky that she was leaving. And the phone call had ended with Ricky basically saying that he was not coming to get her and she had to find her own ride home. After not being able to get a ride home with her boyfriend, Elizabeth then resorted to phoning her parents, but unfortunately they were both asleep and did not answer the phone. After this, Elizabeth had planned on phoning her brother, but his phone number was actually long distance. So the 7-Eleven clerk had told Elizabeth that she had to go outside and use the payphone to make this phone call. In the early hours of the morning of April 26, 1988, Elizabeth's parents woke up to find that their daughter had never made it home the night before. And immediately panic set in because this was really unlike Elizabeth. She didn't like to sleep out, and if she did sleep out, she planned on doing so many nights previously and would always tell her parents. So immediately they phoned the police. But like in a lot of cases like this, the police had told them that Elizabeth was a 20-year-old girl and she had every right to be missing, and they had to wait at least 72 hours before they could help them track down their daughter. But just because the police wouldn't help, this didn't stop Elizabeth's parents from taking immediate action. As soon as they realized that their daughter was missing, they started printing flyers and hanging them up all over Texas with her face on them. And even after the police began to help, they still continued to do this. So there was thousands of flyers all over Texas with Elizabeth's face and missing persons posters on them. And this actually helped bring in a lot of reports and sightings of Elizabeth. Since Elizabeth had gone missing, there was actually hundreds of sightings of her all over Texas. But 3 of them really stood out, and they are the 3 that I'm going to mention in this video. The first sighting was from Roger Yan, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, in Waco, Texas. He was working at a convenience store when he said he saw a man pull up to a gas pump, and he dragged a woman fitting Elizabeth's description out of the car. Roger said that this man was holding this woman's arm extremely aggressively, and he brought her into the store and then gave Roger $20 for the gas that he had just bought from the pump. But while they were there, the girl didn't really look up. But at one point during their interaction, she did look up, and the way that she looked up at Roger led him to believe that the girl was being forced to be quiet and she wasn't allowed to speak. A few days after this encounter, Elizabeth's mother had visited the convenience store where Roger worked, and they had come to the conclusion that this was in fact Elizabeth. Just a few days after this first encounter that I had already mentioned, there was another sighting of Elizabeth. But this sighting was in Coppers Cove, Texas, and this sighting was witnessed by a woman by the name of Michelle Christensen. And she said that her encounter with this woman was strikingly similar to the encounter that Roger had had previously. She said that the man, presumably the same man from the previous encounter, dragged a woman who fit Elizabeth's description in aggressively by her upper arm. And she was under the impression that this woman could not speak or was not allowed to speak. And she looked up at Michelle as if to ask for help. On July 10th, a customer at a gas station in Garland, Texas, by the name of Virgie Johnson says that she bumped into Elizabeth while she was leaving the gas station. But in this particular encounter, Virgie said that Elizabeth seemed to be alone, although she was acting very frightened and acting as if somebody was watching her. And like the previous encounters, Virgie said that after seeing the pictures of Elizabeth all over the news, she was almost certain that this was in fact her. But despite all of these encounters, authorities were not convinced that these sightings were in fact Elizabeth. The man who was believed to have been sighted with Elizabeth was about 5'7", had acne scarring all over his face, and weighed about 160 pounds. He wore a silver martial arts medallion on a gold chain and was believed to have been of Asian descent. Sam and Tom, Elizabeth's parents, believed that their daughter was abducted and forced to work the streets as a prostitute. Lewis Lee, who is a psychologist as well as founder of the group Children of the Night, which is a group who helps women who are forced into prostitution get better and be able to live normal lives, thinks that Elizabeth was abducted. Lewis Lee believes that Elizabeth's abductor tortured her so badly to try and strip her of her identity, and that would be why Elizabeth was so scared and didn't ask for help in these sightings where she was seen at all of those gas stations even when she was alone. In 1992, 4 years after Elizabeth's disappearance, police at Crockett County Sheriff's Department were cleaning out their evidence cabinet when they found Elizabeth's purse. They knew that this purse belonged to Elizabeth because it had her social security number inside along with her credit cards, but all of her other stuff was missing. Now, this part of this case just absolutely blows my mind, but at this point, the police were not required to keep a record of people who brought stuff in as evidence. So they had no idea who brought this person or where it came from. But the one thing that the authorities did do was they estimated around roughly the time that they believed that this purse could have been handed in, and that would have been in April of 1988 to January of 1990. Now, this is where I'm going to get into some theories. Many people believe that the sightings of Elizabeth were actually completely unrelated to Elizabeth. Many people believe that this couple was just a couple and the man was unfortunately abusing the woman and she possibly couldn't speak English, and that is why she couldn't ask the clerks at all of the gas stations for help. Some people theorize that Elizabeth could have possibly been another victim of Robert A. Royds, also known as the truck stop serial killer. He was a convicted serial killer and rapist who was charged for 3 murders and was actually supposed to be charged for 2 more, but the charges were dropped due to the wishes of the families. One of the truck stop serial killer's victims was actually found just off of I-10 in Crockett County, Texas, which is exactly where Elizabeth's purse is believed to have been found. So people tried to kind of link this, but authorities do not believe that these cases are related. Another theory in this case, which is the one that I think I lean more towards, is that after not being able to get a ride home from somebody that she knew that night, Elizabeth possibly hitchhiked again. And maybe when she hitchhiked for the second time that night, she was picked up by a truck driver or somebody who was just passing through, and they possibly sold her into sex trafficking or did something much more sinister to her, and then disposed of her bag in Crockett, Texas, while they were passing through there. Another reason why I think I believe this a little bit more is because Elizabeth had already hitchhiked that night. So why would she have not done it again? Especially because her mother had said she was extremely trusting of everyone. So there was no reason why she wouldn't think that hitchhiking was okay. Another widely speculated theory in this case is that Ricky, Elizabeth's boyfriend, had something to do with her disappearance. The couple had been fighting pretty intensely that whole entire night for reasons that are unknown. And many people believe that after he'd gotten off the phone with Elizabeth, he did decide to come and pick her up from the 7-Eleven. And then maybe their argument got out of hand and something happened. But I don't know how I feel about this theory just because there isn't any concrete evidence to suggest that this did happen. Now, something else that I've seen a lot online that I feel like I should mention in this video is a woman's remains were found in Falls County, Texas. And many people online on Reddit and other forums believe that the facial reconstruction of this woman have a striking resemblance to Elizabeth. It is believed that this woman was Hispanic, but it is also possible that she was Asian or of mixed race. The estimated date of this woman's death is unknown, and she was believed to have been anywhere from her mid-20s to mid-40s, and her body was discovered on April 9th, 2000. Now, you would think that the police would have cleared up the possibility that this was Elizabeth due to the enormous amount of speculation around this theory online, but I'm really not sure if they have ever compared the two's DNA. To this day, Elizabeth's family is still searching for her and hoping that somebody will come forward with some information that can help them close this case. And as always in cases like these, I sincerely hope that somebody comes forward with information that could give Elizabeth's family some answers. But that brings us to the end of this video, as that was all of the information that I could find about this case. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Now quickly, I just want to say that the reason that I missed the 2 Mystery Mondays that I did miss is because for the summer I'm staying at my mom's house, and she is actually in the middle of selling her house. So there has been many open houses and people making appointments to see the house. And it's just been really, really difficult to film, but I'm hoping that soon it will level out and I will be able to film regularly again. Also, I'm filming right now at nighttime, so the lighting might not be so good because I'm using my sister's makeup mirror, but bear with me through that, and just bear with me through everything because I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a rocky next 2 months or so. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment down below and hit that subscribe button and turn on my notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!